Hare Krishna. Now Duryodhana has finished speaking to Bhishma and Dronacharya, and now it is the time for Bhishma Dev to respond. But what Bhishma Deva decides to do is, instead of speaking anything, he picks up his conch shell and he blows his conch shell. That is this verse, the first chapter of Gita. On the 12th verse, Bhishma Deva is picking his conch shell and he's blowing it. This is to give a message to Duryodhana that don't worry, I am going to put my life in line just for you, to satisfy you, just like how I have done always, whether it was at the time of Draupadi being disrobed in the assembly. Bhishma Deva could not speak because his responsibility was towards the throne or the kingdom of Hastinapur. For this reason, he was always supportive of whatever Duryodhana was doing. Supportive in the sense, not very actively supportive, but he did not say anything against Duryodhana to stop him from doing anything which is wrong, although it was quite apparent to Bhishma Deva. So, Simhanadam Vinadyochaihi. How did he blow the conch shell? Kuru Vriddaha Pitamaha. Second line says, Kuru Vriddaha Pitamaha. Pitamaha means Pita is father, Pitamaha is father's father. So it is grandfather. So Bhishma Deva was the grandsire of the dynasty. So it was Duryodhana. Duryodhana's father was Dhṛtarāṣṭra, and his prior line was Bhishma Deva. So then what did he do? Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham. Sanjanayan Harsham, to increase. Sanjanayan is to increase. Harsham. Harsha is happiness. To increase happiness of who? Tasya. Of him. Of who? Of Duryodhana, who was just talking to him. Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham. To increase the happiness of Duryodhana, Kuru Vriddaha. Kuru dynasty's Vridda. Vridda means the oldest of all. Bhishma Deva. Simhanadam Vinadyochaihi. He blew the conch shell, which is termed here as Simhanadam, which means the Simha means lion, Nadam is the voice, the roar. Vinadyochaihi. So if you see the word Nadam and Vinad, all of them come from the base word Nad. Nad, Nada. Right? So even in South India, there is a particular instrument called Nadaswaram. So it is because the Nada, the musical note or the voice, comes from those. It is a instrument which has got holes in it, more like a flute, but it is utilized or blown in a different way from the flute. So Nada is basically the voice. So then twice it is used, more like saying roaring the roar of a lion. Just like how if we would hear the roar of a lion, how loud and how fearful it would be. Exactly like that, Bhishma Deva blew his conch shell. For what? He blew it to give happiness to Duryodhana. That's the major word given in this verse. It says, Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham, to give happiness to Duryodhana, who's speaking to to Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya, of course, to tell him that don't worry, I am going to definitely fight for you and I'm not going to be partial. I will definitely put all my effort into fighting this war to win it for you. But in the same line, Bhishma is also giving him another message. So when he takes the shank, the conch in his hand, conch is a symbol of Lord Vishnu. Krishna, who's standing right in front of him. So he's also trying to tell him that, you know what, I am blowing this conch to begin the war in a symbol to the opposite, in a sign to the opposite party to say that let's begin the war. But also please understand, this Lord, who is the Lord of the conch, is standing right in front of us, Krishna. And wherever he is, there is victory. So whether it is victory or defeat, you are speaking great words and I am blowing this conch with so much strength. But victory or defeat is in the hands of the Lord. So Bhishma Deva is also sending another message to Duryodhana, saying indirectly that we are all going to put our effort, but you know what? The Lord is on the other side and definitely victory is going to be theirs. Yes? So saying that, we'll end this verse again, repeating the verse. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddaha pitamahaha simhanadam vinadyochaihi shankam dadma pratapavan. He blows the conch. Another verse, which is the 13th verse, it speaks about as soon as Bhishma Deva blows his conch shell, what happens right after that in the battlefield. If we imagine the entire battlefield where Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana, everybody is on one side, and there on the opposite side is Pandavas, Krishna and their army. As soon as Bhishma Deva blows his conch shell to begin, a lot more instruments also start to blow, showing the beginning of the war. So this is how the verse goes. Tata shankascha bheryascha panavanaka gomukaha saha saivabhya hanyanta sa shabdas tumulo abhavat. So in this verse, what they are talking about is as soon as the conch of Bhishma Deva was blown, many other instruments were also blown, like drums, bugles, kettle drums, and they also talk about something like a trumpet. So all these instruments also start blowing, showing the beginning of the war. And how was all of these noises together? It was tumulo bhavat. Tumulaha in English is translated as tumultuous. You know, it's roaring everywhere. There is roar. Sometimes when we go to the temple and there are 1, 2, 3 conches blown at the same time, we feel like, wow, it's so auspicious. It's the beginning of auspiciousness. We feel that way, right? It's exactly like that. Here, the first beginning was the conch, which felt very auspicious. And then all the other instruments were also blown to show the beginning of the battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So we ended there, again repeating the verse. Tata shankascha bheryascha panavanaka gomukaha saha saivabhya hanyanta sa shabdas tumulo bhavat. Hare Krishna.